Hello everyone, welcome to Exact Net Worth YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to tell you about the net worth of Mick Jagger. So, Mick Jagger, also known as Sir Michael Philip Jagger, is an English singer, songwriter, actor and producer. Mick Jagger has a net worth of $500 million. Mick Jagger is best known as the lead vocalist of the Rolling Stones, a position he has held since the band's formation in the early 1960s. As of this writing, the Stones have sold more than 200 million records worldwide. The band still tours consistently to this day, nearly every year. When the band does tour, it can be one of the highest-grossing musical acts in the world. For example, in 2018 the band earned $117 million off just 14 shows. Net worth: $500 million. Date of birth: July 26, 1943, 78 years old. Gender: male. Height: 5 feet 10 inches, 1.78 meters. Profession: singer, musician, record producer, songwriter, actor, film producer, film score composer, screenwriter. Nationality: England. Before going further, please subscribe to Exact Net Worth YouTube channel and press bell icon for more videos like this. Jagger was born on July 26, 1943, in Dartford, Kent. He has a younger brother, Chris, who is also a musician. Jagger's father and grandfather were both teachers, a profession that he was brought up to follow their footsteps in. However, according to Jagger, he was always a singer who loved to listen to other singers, as well as perform in the church choir. Jagger was childhood friends with Keith Richards, as the pair attended Wentworth Primary School together. They were even neighbors until the Richards family moved in 1954. Eventually, several years later, the pair reunited when Richards ran into Jagger on a train. Jagger was carrying albums from Chess Records by Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters, and the pair rekindled their friendship over their shared musical interests. After leaving school in 1961, Jagger moved in with Richards and guitarist Brian Jones. While Richards and Jones made plans to start their own rhythm and blues group, Jagger attended classes at the London School of Economics, where he studied business on a government grant. Eventually, Jagger left the London School of Economics and joined Richards and Jones in their practices, and together they set the foundations for what would become the band The Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones. Together with Richards, Jagger is responsible for writing some of the band's biggest hits. Jagger is considered one of the most influential frontmen in the history of rock and roll. Jagger and the Rolling Stones got their first real job in 1962, and by 1963 they hit their stride and took off as a reputable band in the music industry. The Rolling Stones were in the vanguard of the British invasion in the 1960s, as the band identified with the youthful and rebellious counterculture of the time. The Rolling Stones were instrumental in making blues a major part of rock and roll, and they have continued to transcend generations. The Rolling Stones have released over 100 albums over their long career, including 30 studio albums, and performed more than 2,000 concerts globally. According to Fortune, the Stones generated more than $1.5 billion in total gross revenue between 1989 and 2001. Solo career. While continuing to tour and record with the Rolling Stones, Jagger set out on his own solo career in the 1980s. His first solo album, She's the Boss, was released on February 19, 1985. During the same period he collaborated with the Jacksons, performing as lead vocals with Michael Jackson on State of Shock. His second solo album, Primitive Cool, was released in 1987 to positive reviews, but was a commercial failure. He followed up these projects with his third solo album, Wandering Spirit, in 1992. His fourth solo album, Goddess in the Doorway, was released in 2001. In May 2011, Jagger announced he had formed a new supergroup with Dave Stewart, Joss Stone, Damian Marley and A.R. Rahman, named Super Heavy. The group's inspiration was to fuse the musical styles of the different artists together, and they released one album and 2 singles that same year. Jagger's most significant film roles were in Performance, 1968, and Ned Kelly, 1970. Difficulties with scheduling meant that he lost out on some opportunities, such as the film Fitzcarraldo, 1982. He founded Jagged Films with Victoria Pearman in 1995, and the company's first release was the World War II drama Enigma in 2001. Also in 2001, Jagged Films produced a documentary, Being Mick, about Jagger. Real estate. Perhaps not surprisingly, Mick Jagger owns an extremely valuable real estate portfolio. According to a 2013 Telegraph article, Mick owns $250 million worth of real estate around the globe. He owns several multi-million-dollar mansions in New York and London for both his own use and his family members. A particularly notable example in his portfolio is a 6-room beachfront compound on the private island of Mustique, which he actually rents out for a cool $30,000 per week if you're interested. He owns a second home on Mustique within a gated country club, which he also rents. This one goes for $11,000 per week. Mick also owns a castle in the south of France. According to his autobiography, Mick bought the historic Hampshire mansion Stargroves, which the Stones used as a recording venue in the 1970s, while experiencing an acid trip. The mansion was decrepit at the time after years of neglect and only cost £55,000. He sold the estate in 1979 to a businessman for £200,000. In 1998, Rod Stewart bought property for £2.5 million. Stewart sold the property to a member of the opiate-rich Sackler family for £15 million in 2012.